Hi, welcome to English Journey Adventures. Today's story begins with a graduation dress, a quiet father, and a secret I did not understand. Listen and follow. This is my father sold my graduation dress. My name is Sofia. In my last year of school, I dreamed about one thing almost every night, my graduation day. I kept the school calendar beside my bed and crossed off each week with a blue pen. Graduation felt like a door, and I wanted to walk through it looking brave. I did not dream about the stage first. I dreamed about the dress. It was dark blue, simple, and beautiful. When I wore it, I felt like my life was opening. My father, Marco, worked as a taxi driver. He came home tired, with oil on his hands and dust on his shoes, but he always asked about my homework. He did not speak much about feelings. His love sounded like, "Did you eat?" or "Do you need a ride?" I understood him, even when other people thought he was cold. For 6 months, he put coins and small bills into a glass jar. He called it the graduation jar. I pretended not to see how slowly it filled. One Friday, Dad brought me to a small dress shop. The blue dress hung near the back wall. It was not expensive for some families, but for us it was a mountain. When Dad paid for it, his hands shook a little. I hugged the dress bag all the way home. He smiled like he had bought me the moon. That night, I tried the dress on in front of the mirror. Dad stood in the doorway and cleared his throat. "Your mother would have cried," he said. At home, I hung the dress on my wardrobe door. Every evening, I looked at it before sleeping. It reminded me that hard work could become something beautiful. At school, my friends talked about hair, shoes, and photos. My friend Maya said, "Sofia, you will look like a movie star." I laughed, but I believed her. A girl named Olivia heard us. She always noticed other people's clothes. "I hope your father did not spend too much," she said sweetly. I ignored her. I was used to small comments about money. They hurt, but I had learned to carry them quietly. Still, I went home that day and checked the dress again. I touched the fabric and reminded myself that no one at school had the right to make me feel small. 2 weeks before graduation, I came home early. The wardrobe door was open, and the dress bag was gone. At first, I thought Mom had moved it. Then I remembered my mother had died when I was little. In our house, only Dad and I touched that wardrobe. The empty hanger moved a little in the air from the open window. It looked like a question mark. My whole room suddenly felt strange. When Dad came home, I asked, "Where is my dress?" He put his keys on the table and did not look at me. "I had to take it back," he said. His voice was low. "I am sorry, Sofia." "Take it back?" I asked. "You sold it?" He closed his eyes for 1 second. That was the answer. My chest felt empty. I said things I wish I could erase. I told him he had ruined the only day that was mine. I said he never understood what other girls had. I said he only saw bills, taxi repairs, and problems. The words came out sharp and fast. Dad did not defend himself. He only said, "You will understand later." That made me angrier. The next morning, my cousin Nia called me. She said she had seen Dad at a second-hand shop, handing my dress to an older man behind the counter. "Maybe he needed money for the taxi," Nia whispered. "Maybe the engine broke again." Her words spread through my head like smoke. I imagined the blue dress hanging under weak shop lights with a cheap paper tag on it. I imagined a stranger touching it, choosing it, taking my dream home. By lunch, the story had reached school. Someone said my father sold my dress because we could not pay bills. Someone else said he sold it for car parts. Olivia looked at me near the lockers and said, "No dress now? That is sad. Graduation photos last forever." Maya stood beside me and told Olivia to stop, but the damage was already done. I felt every eye on my empty hands, as if the dress had disappeared from my body too. I wanted to answer, but my throat closed. I went to the bathroom and cried quietly, because I hated that everyone knew. That night, Dad knocked on my door. He held a plain white envelope. "Please trust me for a few more days," he said. I turned away. "Trust you? You sold my dress and let people laugh at me." Dad's face changed, but he still did not explain. He placed the envelope on my desk and left. Inside the envelope was a receipt from the school office. It said, "Final university application fee paid." My name was on it. The date on the receipt was that same morning. The deadline was printed in small black letters. If he had waited one more day, the chance would have closed. I stared at the paper. Months earlier, I had hidden that fee letter because I knew we did not have enough money. I had chosen the dress instead. Dad had found the letter. He had understood the choice I was too ashamed to speak. I sat on the floor with the receipt in my lap. Anger was still inside me, but now it had to share space with guilt, confusion, and fear. The next evening, I followed Dad after work. He did not go to a car shop. He went to the back door of the same second-hand dress shop. Inside, an elderly tailor was waiting. On the table was a pale dress with lace, old but beautiful. Dad sat beside it and began sewing slowly. His taxi jacket hung on the chair. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, and there was a small bandage around one finger. I stood in the doorway without breathing. Dad looked up and froze. The tailor smiled gently and said, "She came at the right time." Dad said, "This was your mother's dress. It was too damaged to wear, but Mr. Costa said we could save part of it." Mr. Costa opened a box of old photographs. In one picture, Mom was young and laughing in the same lace. I had never seen that photo before. I walked closer. The dress on the table had pieces of white lace, blue fabric, and tiny silver beads from my old dress ribbon. Dad explained everything. He sold the blue dress to pay my university fee before the deadline. Then he worked nights with Mr. Costa to make another dress from Mom's old one. He said the shop owner had promised to hold the blue dress for 1 week, but another customer bought it the next day. Dad looked ashamed when he told me. "I wanted you to have a future and a memory," he said. "But I did not know how to explain without making you feel poor." I touched the lace. For years, I had only seen my mother in photos. Now part of her was on the table in front of me. I whispered, "Why did you let me hate you?" Dad looked down. "Because your dream mattered more than my pride." Mr. Costa turned away to give us privacy. I saw his shoulders move, and I understood he was crying too. I cried then. Not small tears, but the kind that make your whole body tired. Dad held me like he did when I was little. On graduation morning, the finished dress hung on my wardrobe. It was not the dress from the shop. It was better. It had blue fabric like my first dream, white lace from my mother, and careful stitches from my father's tired hands. There was one tiny silver bead near the collar, sewn where only I could see it. Dad said it came from the ribbon of the dress he had sold. At school, Olivia looked at my dress and opened her mouth. I waited for a comment, but none came. Even she could see it was special. Maya touched the lace gently and whispered, "Sophia, this is not just pretty. This is a whole story." For the first time in days, I smiled. During the ceremony, I walked across the stage in my cap and gown. Under it, I knew the dress was there, close to my heart. When I looked into the crowd, I saw Dad standing with both hands over his mouth. He was crying and smiling at the same time. After I received my certificate, the principal announced scholarship names. I heard mine. For 1 second, I did not move. My name sounded different through the microphone. It sounded bigger than gossip, bigger than the missing dress, bigger than every small comment about money. My university application had arrived on the last day. Because Dad paid the fee, I was able to apply. Because I applied, I had a chance. People clapped. Maya shouted my name. Olivia looked away. I did not care anymore. I looked for Dad again. He pressed both hands together like he was praying, and I knew he was thinking of Mom too. That night, Dad and I sat in the kitchen with tea. The handmade dress lay folded on a chair between us. I said, "I am sorry I called you selfish." Dad shook his head. "You were hurt," he said. "Hurt people ask hard questions." I told him I was proud to wear Mom's lace and his stitches. He laughed softly and said he had pricked his finger 17 times. Then he showed me a small envelope with the leftover lace inside. "For one day," he said, "when you need to remember where you come from." Now, when I remember graduation, I do not think first about the dress I lost. I think about the father who sold it so my future could stay open. Some gifts look broken at first. Some love arrives quietly, with tired hands, hidden receipts, and stitches no one sees. I still keep the receipt and the leftover lace in the same box. One reminds me of my future. The other reminds me that love can be quiet and brave. Thank you for watching English Journey Adventures. If this story helped you, watch the next simple English story. Listen again, read again, and keep growing your English.